Okay, so what is data? This is the what part. Data is a plural form of datum. Well, not that much helpful, because the question would be then, what is datum? So datum is a value, a piece of information about something. Your height, for instance, 165 centimeters is a datum, is a value. A set of such values can be called data. A data set is a coherent set of data, orderly arranged. So we need to know that what is this order? And we need to know that, okay, what is this coherent set? Or what do I mean by a coherent set? Let's go and learn it through an example. Let's assume that Birmingham City Council has granted us a scholarship, a grant for studying squirrels of Birmingham. The question is, okay, what aspect of these squirrels? Squirrels are everywhere inside the urban area of Birmingham and on the skirt of the city. So our question is, okay, what do we want to study? Do we want to study the mating behavior? Do we want to study the physical aspects and health? Do we want to study their diet, their interaction with human interactive systems? Which one do we want to study? So we need to narrow it down a little bit. Let's assume that we want to study the physical and health aspects. Then the first question after that would be, okay, what are the variables or the aspects or the characteristics or properties or features of squirrels? What are these properties that actually represent the physical and health status? Okay? So what should we measure? What should we record? What should we consider when we want to study squirrel health? So when you go to meet your GP, general practitioner, and in order to evaluate your health status, they will measure a few things. They will ask a few questions about your feeling, about and measure the blood pressure, the body temperature, and so on and so forth. So these are a set of variables or aspects or features or characteristics that they are believed to be related to health status of a human. But what about a squirrel? Let's assume that we consider weight, length, color, gender, and health status. And by the health status, I mean an opinion. Okay, let's assume that we bring a vet specialist for the squirrels with ourselves, and the vet labels the health status of the squirrels that we see. So we assume that the weight of a squirrel, length of a squirrel, color of a squirrel, and gender of a squirrel, these are important features related to the physical aspect and related to health status. Okay, something very straightforward. So the next question is, so let's review it. We selected a topic, okay, and that our topic was physical and health status of squirrels. And then we defined a set of variables or determinants that are believed, this is important, that are believed to represent our topic of interest. Good. So then we need to define how to measure these variables. And for instance, the weight, well, that's a straightforward. But what about length? It is said conventionally in animal kingdom, the length of an animal is from tip of the nose to the end of the tail. In color, let's assume that we have only two colors, red and gray or something like this. In gender, let's assume that we have only two genders, and health status, let's assume that we have only good and bad, something like this. Okay, so we decide about the details of the variables now. And then we can go out and we can start gathering data. Let's assume that this is the first squirrel that we see. So we catch this squirrel, we measure the length and the weight, and color is gray, gender is female, and health status is good. So now the question is how to record, how to keep these information. You might say that, okay, I will memorize it. I will memorize all these information, which would be a way of keeping, storing, and retrieving information. But it's not very reliable, right? You might forget the details. The details might get distorted in your mind, and so on and so forth. You might say, okay, that I have a picture of this squirrel. I took it with my phone. I'll write it here that the W is 344 and the length is 35 centimeter and the color is clearly gray, and so on and so forth. And that's a better way. Actually, the values won't be distorted. The values won't be lost. There is a problem here. For reading them, for retrieving these values in order to use them, in order to feed them into a computer program, then we would have lots of difficulties. So through blood and sweat, through experimentation in thinking, it has been figured out that this is the proper order for many data sets. And it is called a tabular data set. Well, because it's like a tab, it's rectangular. And it has two characteristics, two very important characteristics in the standard form. And the standard form in the scope of our module. So one, every row is an item or case or subject or observation. 2, every column is a unique variable or feature or field or property or characteristic, so on and so forth. So there are different equivalent terms. Okay? And then values are being recorded in every cell. So for this one, this is the first squirrel. The length is 35, weight is 344, color is gray, and so on and so forth. And when we see the next squirrel, we put it on the second row. Okay? And the order is preserved. So this table is the standard form that we use in this module. There are other forms available, especially for those who work with Excel as the main tool. They have a little bit of different version of these data sets, not in the way that we have it, but this is the way that it works for machine learning programs. Therefore, we stick to it. And it's important to memorize, to master these details about the order. So this is once again the review that every case, item, subject, observation is presented by one row or record. So this record is the third squirrel, seemingly not in a good health status. And we can see that the features are here and the order are preserved. So, Coming back to one point that we had earlier, I said that we believe that these features are representing physical and health status of a squirrel. But why do we believe so? This is a question. If I tell you go out right now and study traffic congestion, what would you measure? The number of cars, the width of the street or carriageway, the type of the cars, the color of the cars, the number of people of the car in the cars, drivers and the people passengers, the number of cyclists, junctions. What do you measure? What do you record? Okay, this is a question. Think about it a little bit and come back in the next part of the lecture series.